Hello, today we're going to talk about economics and politics, Sub-Saharan Africa. All right, how we're going to talk about this is first, it's going to go pre-colonization, when Europe came in and basically took over Africa and split it into parts, and then post-colonization. The first thing you need to know is nationalism is a loyalty to one's country. That's the only definition for this whole section. Then we go into Sub-Saharan Africa pre-colonial politics. There's three types of pre-colonial period, like government type things. One was a centralized kingdom that was ran by a king. It's called an authoritarian rule. He basically controlled everything because he could create revenue through taxation and trade. Another one was city-states. City-states were basically just smaller centralized kingdoms. They had one ruler that did everything also. They were just smaller. And the last one was a decentralized stateless society. 1/3 of the population lived in this type of society before colonization. Just like it said, it had no centralized government system at all in these decentralized or stateless societies. They're comprised mostly of towns and villages, and they had a ruler that was usually called a chief or respected elders or elder that ruled them. All right, then we move into Sub-Saharan Africa colonial politics. So the Europeans, when they came in, they had two ways of basically taking over. One was divide and conquer. With divide and conquer, they put the tribes against each other, or the ethnic groups against each other, and they fought, and they basically just kind of came in and took over that way. The other way was divide and rule. So what they would do is they would, they would play ethnic groups against each other, or they would help one ethnic group, give them better opportunities, give them schools, just make it better for them, and that made them very angry at each other at that time. This prevented nationalism from happening. So we talk about nationalism as loyalty to one's country. So if you go into a country and you're pitting all these ethnic groups against each other, they're not going to join together and make a strong force to stop you from basically just taking over the country. Factors that resulted in increased conflict during the colonial period was drawing of political borders. So we talked about this earlier in the year. You combine a bunch of ethnic groups together that don't like each other. So that created more strife. Divide and conquer politics, which we talked about, and favoritism towards an ethnic group. All right, and now Sub-Saharan Africa post-colonial politics. There's two types of government systems that emerged during the post-colonial. It was military governments. So by 1970, half of the countries lived by a military type government. This is where the military controls the government, and they run it. They take it over and run it. This is the most common type of government. The other one is the one-party government, so it has a one-party system. So basically just one person or one group of people that are in charge all the time. Here in the US, we have a two-party system, is what they call it. There's actually more parties than that run. If you look at it, there's always like 3 or 4 people that are actually running for it. But the only ones we look at are the Democratic and Republican Party. So they call it a two-party system. So political problems post-colonial was the ethnic conflict, human rights, and political capital. So the Sub-Saharan Africa economics, trade goods, and slaves. So trade goods in the African kingdoms. The big kingdoms, they had coastal locations to control trade routes, and they had natural resources to trade. That's what made them big kingdoms, is they controlled trade, and they had a lot of natural resources that they could sell. The trade goods for Europe in the 1850s, or not the 18, and it says the 1500s. So the Europeans, they were trading guns for people. That was their main trade thing that they did in Africa once they colonized it. So sub-Saharan Africa colonization, main factors leading to European colonization of Africa. So Europe, the original reason why they came in is they needed there's two reasons. One, they needed a new marketplace, so they were producing a lot of goods and they had nowhere to sell them. So taking over the African continent gave them more places to sell. And because they were producing so much, they needed more natural resources or raw materials. So taking it over, they could harvest everything they needed there. And then eventually that led to the guns for people. And they started the slave, it's a triangle. I can't remember exactly what it's called. So by the 1960s, former colonies became independent. They had to remake their economic systems, but I've talked about this before. Europe just came in, basically decimated them, took what they needed, left them sort of in shambles. It seems like from what I'm learning this year. The main problem was the lack of economic diversity with once they gained their independence. And the strategies to improve their economics after they became independent was foreign investment, loans, and trade. All right, this has been Economics and Politics, Sub-Saharan Africa. Hope it helped. Good luck.